We got some rainforest music on in the background because we are going to look at a mysterious legend today. That's right, mysterious legends are said to be real. And this guy's another cryptid, just like we did the last one on the Jersey Devil. This is another cryptid that lives in a rainforest. Mokele-mbembe. Mbembe. Mokele-mbembe. According to local legends, deep in the jungles of the Democratic Republic of Congo, a dinosaur-like creature has survived long past the assumed dinosaur extinction. The Mokele-mbembe is described as being up to 35 feet long. There's a picture of man and there's the picture of Mokele-mbembe. 35 feet long with brown-gray skin and a long neck. People believe the creature is amphibious, giving it ample opportunity to relocate quickly. A large number of people still believe Africa is the one place in the world where dinosaurs exist, which most likely began with the 1909 text Beasts and Men, in which zoologists Carl Hagenbeck claimed sauropods could still be alive deep in the jungles of Africa. Although experts claim his assumptions were based on a fallacy to sensationalize his work, several modern researchers with several modern searches with researchers and hunters from all over the world have occurred in the jungles of the Democratic Republic of the Congo in search of Mokele-mbembe. Although no solid evidence has surfaced, expeditions are still being organized to travel into the jungle in hopes of learning more about this fabled creature. So today we're going to learn about Mokele-mbembe, and I'm going to draw it just like always, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Mokele-mbembe. It lives in the rainforest, supposedly. That's why we have rainforest music in the background. Deep in the Congo Basin lurks what's said to be the lone survivor of the dinosaur age. Mokele-mbembe, it literally translates to one who blocks the flow of rivers. And I found a picture of him, and right here you see him, and we're going to draw him. And you're going to see how he relates to man here, how big he is. About the size of an elephant as compared to man. This is Mokele-mbembe. It's said to be a dinosaur that still exists. That's what this is. It is described as looking like a smaller version of the Brontosaurus and the color of the beast is gray, unlike the Brontosaurus, whose color is usually blue or bluish-green. It also looks identical to a sauropod, which existed in the Jurassic period on Earth. So here's a little picture of man. This is just a generic guy. Basically, we want to show you how big this thing is said to be. There is no proof that it actually exists, but it is an interesting cryptid, much like the Jersey Devil, but this is located on the other side of the world. Sauropod fossils have been found on every continent, and this has no doubt fueled the myth and the folklore of gigantic reptiles such as Mokele-mbembe, dragons, and more. So on every continent, we have found fossils of sauropods, which is what this thing resembles, apparently. A sauropod apparently is a reptile-like creature that resembles a Brontosaurus. If you remember in science class learning about like the four major dinosaurs that we knew about back in the day was Tyrannosaurus Rex, Stegosaurus, Triceratops, and Brontosaurus. Brontosaurus was that big thing with the long, huge neck and the long, huge tail. Well, this is a smaller version of Brontosaurus. And the T-Rex was the guy that was the alpha male with the big head and the big sharp teeth. And he would eat all the other dinosaurs if they let him. The Triceratops was the thing with the three horns. The reptile with the three horns. I don't know if you remember any of this stuff. And the Stegosaurus was the dinosaur that had all these spikes on the back. These spike plates. Some more outlandish depictions of Mokele give him a spinal dorsal plate like the Stegosaurus. So these are the spinal dorsal plates that they say Mokele-mbembe has, and for entertainment purposes I decided to add them into the picture because I think it looks cooler with the dorsal plates. Here's a picture of the early man here. Kind of looks like Ken. It doesn't matter what he looks like. We just want to show you how big this guy is compared to man. and he's pretty big. Mokele-mbembe is said to live in the deep waters of the Congo in one of the many underwater caverns carved out by the river currents. And also people say that Mokele-mbembe carves these deep caverns out just by thrashing around and lurking about the under the water. He is a big lizard. And then he comes out at night to feed on the vegetation of the rainforest in the Republic of Congo. It is said to be quiet and keeping to itself, but if it is being hunted, it will defend itself violently. Local tales tell to have feasted on the highest of the tree leaves, overturning canoes, and even attacking hippos that wander into its territory. So here's a little bit about the legend of Mokele-mbembe. In 1776, a guy by the name of Abbot Levon Bonaventure Perard chronicled in his work History of the Congo a story of French missionaries stumbling onto animals or reptiles of an immense proportions deep within the jungle. They would stumble around and run into tracks as big or as even bigger than an elephant's tract. So when you're, well, hello, how you doing? If you want to learn to be a better drawer, you could just watch this channel and, watch and learn. And, where was I at? These footprints were bigger than an elephant. So if you're a tracker, you know what an elephant footprint usually consists of. And these missionaries were baffled by the size and the shape of this alien footprint, this unknown footprint that they ran across. The mystery of these footprints began to clear up a little bit around 1913 when the German government wanted to do some surveys on the land that they owned called Cameroon. This is in the Republic of Congo. I think it's in the northeast corner. This expedition was led by Captain Ludwig Fryer von Sulunitz. Captain Ludwig Fryer von Sulunitz. And we're just going to call him Captain Ludwig for short, because that's a crazy name. This creature described by Captain Ludwig in his reports described a creature deeply feared by the locals of all various regions that was the size of an elephant. These reports introduced Mokele-mbembe to the Western world. So before that, no one even heard of this guy. Thank you. I appreciate all my subscribers. There is no concrete evidence at this time in 1913 to prove that Mokele-mbembe existed. No concrete evidence was found in the exhibitions of the early 20th century. Perhaps the most famous publicized expedition for Mokele were undertaken by Roy Mackal. Mackal had a passion for cryptozoology, which is the study of cryptids, which is Mokele-mbembe. That's what he is classified as of now, because there is no evidence to classify him as anything else. Till we get more evidence of him, this is what we have to classify him as. Mackal had a passion for cryptozoology, and he pursued it very vigorously. In the late 1970s, Mackal had become interested in Mokele-mbembe and led more expeditions in the 1980s. In 1987, Mackal wrote and published a chronicle of the expeditions called The Living Dinosaur? There's a question mark. So that was what it was called. And years prior, Mackal led an expedition in Scotland to find the Loch Ness Monster, one that yielded little results. So this guy, Mackal, is not new to cryptids. He's well versed in studying cryptids, which is interesting. Mokele-mbembe is not the only dinosaur cryptid. The Kasai region of the Congo is said to be home to a Tyrannosaurus-like creature. That's the Tyrannosaurus rex that we all studied in school. It's the big head and the big, huge teeth, and just looks menacing. If you ran into him, you would probably crap your pants, literally. So that's a Tyrannosaurus rex. So this is in the Kasai region of the Congo. It's home to a Tyrannosaurus-like creature, while a petrosaur called Kongamato, is said to live in Zambia. And that's another part of Africa. Not sure where Zambia is. It is unlikely that such a huge beast stayed anonymous for so long that many do not share the belief in Mokele-mbembe. And they're trying to say that if it was a dinosaur, how did it survive the mass extinction? And how did it survive so long after the mass extinction? Then there's also another way to think of that. What if this is not a dinosaur? What if this is just a huge reptile that has not been classified or discovered yet? Did we ever think of that? So I kind of tend to believe that Mokele-mbembe exists. Just maybe he's not a dinosaur, and maybe he's just a kind of reptile that we've never classified because we've never seen him. Is there such a dinosaur called Mokele-mbembe? Science says no, but it is nonetheless an idea that stirs the imagination. So a little bit of a recap on the facts of Mokele-mbembe. The northeast corner of Republic of Congo is said to be the home of Mokele-mbembe. People that live near Lake Tele, it's a lake in northeast Republic of Congo, have the most stories of Mokele-mbembe. Not just currently, but also in past generations. So we're talking a couple hundred years, this local dinosaur legend, or this local Mokele-mbembe legend, has existed to these locals that live in and around Lake Tele in the Republic of Congo. In the late 1800s, the first person to chronicle these stories in a systematic way was Captain Ludwig Fryer von Sulenitz, but we call him Captain Ludwig for short. Things started to pick up for Mokele-mbembe when Roy Mackal came around. He was a teacher at the University of Chicago, and he was a big proponent of cryptids. Later in the 1990s, some Japanese explorers tried to pick up where Roy Mackal left off. They used sonar images and other kinds of technology, and they even claimed they caught Mokele-mbembe on video recording. And a recording does exist of this claim that they're claiming is Mokele-mbembe, but it is very, very blurry. It's not even worth showing you because it just looks like a jumbled up mess. It actually looks like an elephant grazing, but like a blurry video, a blurry video of an elephant grazing in the water. Does Mokele-mbembe exist? Here are some of the pros and cons to believe that he exists or not to believe he exists. It's less plausible for a sauropod to survive this long. So that's a con if you're in the camp of he does not exist. Is it really a dinosaur, or is it, like I said earlier, is it a reptile that just has not been classified because it's a reptile that's never been seen? And that's a pro if you're in the camp of believing in the Mokele-mbembe, which I tend to believe that this creature does exist. It's just, I don't think it's a dinosaur. There are only accounts of Mokele-mbembe from the indigenous people as the only proof of its existence, which is true. That is true if you're against the idea of Mokele-mbembe existing. Is it really a dinosaur or is it an animal? Some people think that this is an animal that has not been classified. We do not know much about the early explorers that said to have came across the footprints of the Mokele-mbembe. That is true also. Could they have been making it up just to get attention, as people sometimes do? Now he's gray. This creature is said to be gray. Misidentifications or of other animals or other reptiles may have led to the misidentification of and the making up of the creature. So they might have saw like an elephant that was acting violent, and they might not have had a good look at it, and they may have just invented this creature in their minds, and then maybe it took off like wildfire, and everybody started talking about it, and tales grew on down the line. Sauropods are semi-aquatic, but there are none known sauropods to be fully aquatic. So there are no known sauropods known to live exclusively in the water. Like the Brontosaurus I told you about earlier, they used to just go in the lakes to feed, and then they would maybe cool off, and then they would get out. But this is saying that this guy lives underwater, his home is underwater, and he only comes out at night. But so people can say that for the con believing in Mokele-mbembe, but like I said before, what if he's just a sauropod that has not been classified? We do not know everything about the dinosaurs. We weren't there to see everything. What is it, a sauropod? Or is it an unidentified animal or lizard or sauropod that hasn't been discovered yet? There are no fossils of Mokele-mbembe either. So that's a big one right there. Like, you would think you would find one, but then again, are we going under the water and looking for fossils because it's said to live underwater? So that is a little bit vague. I don't have all the information on that. I don't know if they're looking underwater for fossils. But that, just because there's no fossils of Mokele-mbembe does not mean it didn't exist. And that doesn't mean that another thing is fossils need dry areas to to form. In order to find a fossil, you have to brush through dry areas, and there's nothing dry about the rainforest. That's also a good point there. Where they're looking for these fossils is like swampland, and it's almost impossible to find fossils in swampland. So anyway, this is a short one today, guys. This is the Mokele-mbembe, and this is what he's said to have looked like. This is a picture of him, and this is how big he is said to be compared to man. If you guys want to know more about Mokele-mbembe, feel free to look him up. Perhaps you've never heard of him. I never heard of him until I did this show. So he is interesting. He is a cryptid. There you go. Peace out, true believers. I must go. Until then, peace out, true believers.